Right, so get ready, because we are diving into some serious drama.
Yeah.
Ancient drama. And we're talking a story that's been around for ages, as old as the Parthenon, you know? But here's the thing. It still feels like it was ripped straight from today's headlines. It's the myth of Medea and Jason, and we're using this really insightful article called The Unseen Consequences of Love and Betrayal as our guide. Now, you might know the basics. Golden fleece, woman scorned, all that jazz. But trust me when I say we're going way deeper here.
Oh, absolutely. We're going beyond the surface. This isn't just a love story gone wrong. It's about so much more.
Exactly. We're talking about how this myth, especially how Euripides captures it in his play Medea, it reveals some really uncomfortable truths about women and power, and about what happens when you completely obliterate social norms. It's intense. So even if you don't know much about Greek mythology, maybe you've only heard of Hercules, you've probably at least heard whispers of Jason and the Argonauts.
Right. Right. It's like classic adventure territory. Band of heroes. Dangerous quest. Oh, and there's a prophecy about a guy with only one sandal.
Yeah, that's our main man, Jason. Prophecies in these myths are like that first shot in an action movie. You know things are about to get wild. And speaking of wild, let me introduce you to Medea. She's not your typical princess hanging out in a tower. Not at all. She's the daughter of the king who has the golden fleece, which is what Jason's after. But here's the really interesting part. Medea is seriously powerful sorceress. Like she's practically overflowing with magical abilities. Definitely not your damsel in distress.
No, not at all. And what's fascinating is how her character developed over time. In the early stories, she was barely there, just a minor character, a footnote in all these tales about heroes.
Really?
Yeah, but by the time Euripides wrote his play centuries later, Medea was the star, a complex woman with incredible depth.
Wow, so the stories evolve.
Absolutely. It makes you think about how we tell stories, how cultures change, how they see powerful women, and what happens when women actually gain power.
So true. It's
Yeah.
like we can't get enough of those stories. But okay, back to the love story. Or should I say love potion? Because Medea falls head over heels for Jason. But it's not entirely her choice. The gods decided to meddle, as they often do.
Classic.
Aphrodite, goddess of love,
Right.
and Eros, her son with the arrows. They decide to play matchmaker. And guess who put them up to it? Hera, the queen of the gods herself. It's like a whole divine soap opera up on Mount Olympus.
You said it.
So imagine being hit with a love potion. But it's not just any love potion. This one was made by 3 major deities.
Talk about pressure.
Right. So fueled by this crazy infatuation, Medea agrees to help Jason steal the golden fleece from her own father. But it came with a price, a big one,
A very big one.
and make sure they could escape. She killed her brother.
An act that still has power to shock us all these centuries later.
I can imagine. Now you might be thinking, whoa, murdering your brother for a guy. That's a bit extreme even for ancient Greece.
It's intense, definitely. But it shows us something really important about their culture. How important burial rites were to them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, for the ancient Greeks, if a body wasn't buried properly, that was worse than death. It dishonored the person who died. And it angered the gods.
So Medea was really delaying her father, not just.
Yeah, she knew he'd have to stop and perform the rituals, which bought them time to escape.
Wow. It's a stark reminder that something that seems unimaginable to us was just part of their world. And it makes it clear right away that Medea is not someone to mess with.
No, definitely not.
And that's just the beginning, Act 1 of this ancient Greek tragedy. Because Euripides' play Medea, it picks up years after they steal the golden fleece. Jason and Medea are in Corinth, Jason's home turf. But things, let's just say they're not exactly living happily ever after.
Not even close, in fact.
Yeah,
It's about to get really, really messy.
you can say that again. So this is where our article really dives into the societal stuff, all the pressure that's bubbling under the surface. See, Medea, she's not exactly welcomed with open arms. She's not celebrated as Jason's amazing wife. Not at all. Instead, she's an outsider, a woman alone in a foreign land.
And to make matters worse, she's totally cut off from her family, stripped of her cultural identity. She's completely reliant on Jason.
Wow, it's like all the walls are closing in on her, all that isolation.
Absolutely. And she's essentially an immigrant.
Right.
She doesn't have a support system anymore. She has to figure out a whole new culture. And she's constantly reminded that she doesn't belong. It's a situation that I think still resonates with a lot of people today. People who find themselves in unfamiliar places, dealing with power imbalances, having to put all their trust in someone they thought they could depend on.
Definitely. It's a timeless story in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And to make matters even worse, the chorus in the play, they start whispering about Medea.
Oh, yeah. They're like the Greek chorus of gossipy neighbors.
Are not exactly on her side, are they?
Not really. The chorus is like that collective voice you hear sometimes. You know the one. Echoing all the anxieties and prejudices of society.
Yeah, I get
They're
it.
like the peanut gallery of Greek tragedy, watching everything go down and commenting on it. But they also reflect the beliefs and fears of the audience.
Which in ancient Athens meant mostly men.
Exactly. And you can feel this underlying fear of female power,
Yeah.
especially with someone like Medea. She has knowledge, abilities, stuff that most men could only dream of.
Right.
And remember, this is a society built on a really rigid patriarchy.
So a woman with that much power, that's a threat.
Exactly. She's a crack in the foundation of their entire world.
Wow.
And then Jason delivers the knockout blow.
He dumps her.
He dumps her, decides to marry the king's daughter, Gloss.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Yeah.
He's basically trading in his magical, fiercely loyal wife
Yeah.
for a chance to climb the social ladder.
It's brutal. And it's more than just a personal betrayal. It's a calculated move. One that shows us just how disposable women were back then.
It's heartbreaking.
In ancient Greece, belonging to the tribe, being part of the social fabric, that was everything.
So without Jason,
Medea and her sons are completely vulnerable, cast out, in a world that values power and lineage above everything else.
it's a harsh reminder of how quickly things could change back then.
And how little power women had over their own lives.
It's a lot to process. So Medea's world has completely fallen apart.
Yeah, it's like everything's been ripped away from her.
Her husband's betrayed her. She's an outcast. And her kids are in danger of becoming collateral damage.
It's a nightmare scenario.
It really is. And you can practically see the wheels turning in Medea's mind, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. This is a woman backed into a corner with nowhere to turn.
And she's about to unleash some serious pain.
What's so interesting about this part of the play is how Euripides shows us Medea's reaction. She doesn't just fall apart. She doesn't beg Jason to come back. No. She becomes terrifyingly strategic. Like she's channeling all her grief and rage into this incredibly intricate plan for revenge.
She's taking control.
Exactly. Medea is a woman with nothing left to lose, and she knows that the only way to even the score is to make Jason hurt.
And boy, does he hurt.
He really does.
So Medea sets her plan in motion.
Right.
She pretends to be the dutiful wife, but secretly she's orchestrating this horrific revenge. And then she sends a gift to Jason's new bride.
A beautiful garment and crown.
But they're laced with poison.
It's like the ultimate Trojan horse, the symbol of beauty and status, turned into a weapon of agonizing death.
And that's when everything explodes.
The princess dies in agony. And the king, he tries to save his daughter, but he's poisoned too.
Jason's ambition completely backfired.
In the most horrific way.
It's like that moment in a horror movie when the lights go out and you just know something truly awful is about to happen.
And trust me, it gets even worse.
Oh, no.
Because Medea, she takes her revenge one step further.
She kills her sons.
It's the climax of the play, this incredibly brutal, emotionally charged scene. It still leaves audiences reeling.
I can imagine. It's just pure devastation. And this is where our article really challenges us to wrestle with the weight of what Medea's done.
Because was it just revenge, a way to inflict the worst possible pain on Jason?
Or was it something more?
Was it a mother's twisted attempt to save her sons? To protect them from a life without honor, in a society that had already rejected them?
It's a question that's haunted people for centuries. And there are no easy answers.
And even Medea's escape at the end. You know, when she's whisked away in a chariot sent by the gods, it's ambiguous. Like, is she really escaping punishment? Or is she condemned to live with the memory of what she's done?
It's like she's cursed in a way.
Exactly. Our article actually quotes a scholar named Gilbert Murray. He calls Medea a living curse. It's like she becomes this embodiment of the tragedy she created.
So we're left with this really unsettling image. Medea caught between escape and condemnation. This tragic figure who reminds us of the destructive power of betrayal, the intensity of female rage, and just how powerful these ancient myths can be.
They really do hold up a mirror to the darkest parts of humanity.
Exactly. We've gone deep into the heart of Greek tragedy today. We've explored themes that are still relevant thousands of years later. And we've unpacked this really intense story, one that forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about power, revenge, and the price of challenging social norms.
And about love and betrayal.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that these myths, they're not just stories from the past, they're powerful reminders about love, violence, the things we create, and the things we destroy, they're all part of what makes us human.
And they remind us that these challenges, these struggles, they've always been with us.
Oh, maybe, just maybe. By exploring these stories, we can find better ways to navigate these challenges in our own lives with a little more wisdom and hopefully